All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I want to send special thanks out to my man Kevin. You got a whole bunch of characters after your name, but you know who I'm talking about. Kevin, thank you very much for the super thanks. I really appreciate it. Your generosity is well received, and thank you for all your support that you've given this channel. This video here is another one that was kind of inspired by somebody in the comments who said, oh, the 90s was weak. Just a blanket statement. 90s was weak. Okay. So I got a very interesting angle, in my opinion here, to show how the 90s was not only not weak, but may have been the toughest defensive era in the history of the NBA. And I got a decent case for it. Besides the players we already know how good, Pippen, Jordan, Rodman, Olajuwon, David Robinson, all, I can go on and on. Dikembe Mutombo, there's just so many. Mookie Blaylock, Joe Dumars, there's just so many good defensive players that came from the 90s. But what I find interesting is some of the players who played in the 2000s, okay, also were in the 90s. So why did it take them so long to start racking up, defensive player of the year, all defense? What happened? I'll just get right into it so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, let's start with a guy named Clifford Robinson. Now, you guys remember him on Portland. He was coming off the bench. He made an all-star team, I think, in 1993. Pretty good player. He really was. Well, the interesting thing is, Clifford Robinson, his rookie year was 1990. Actually, ironically, that was the year Portland went to the finals. He was a 23-year-old rookie. Do you know the first time he was, say, like a top 10 finisher for Defensive Player of the Year? 1999. He didn't make all defense until 2002, second team. So that means that Clifford Robinson was 32 before he first showed up on a Defensive Player of the Year ballot. And he was 35 when he made his first all-defense. And he actually made it the next year, too. So 35 and 36-year-old Clifford Robinson is making all-defense, but he couldn't do it in the 90s. Well, at least not before 99. He got nothing. His first 9 seasons, nothing. He was shut out from any of that kind of stuff. Why? 90s is weak. I don't get it. Okay? Ben Wallace. Here's a guy who won, what he won? 3, 4 Defensive Players of the Year. Defensive monster, right? I'm not going to disagree. He was. Okay, well, he came in the league in 1997 at age 22. Okay? It took him until his 5th season to get on the Defensive Player of the Year ballot. Now, he did finish 5th, and that's good. And then not until year number 6 did he become all-defense. Now, granted, he was first team all-defense, and I think he even won Defensive Player of the Year. But that was year 6. That would mean he was 28 years old. Well, why so long? I don't get it. Why would it take Ben Wallace so long to finally make all-defensive team? Odd, right? Oh, I got more. How about Doug Christie? Doug Christie was a 4-time all-defensive player. So this is no pushover. This is a solid defensive player. Well, he came in the league in 1993 at age 22. I think he got drafted by the Lakers. Well, he didn't get on the Defensive Player of the Year ballot until 2001. That's 8 years later. He finished 4th. That's at the age of 30. Didn't make his first all-defense until 2001. So now he's 31 years old. Why couldn't he make an all-defense in his 20s? Why not? Well, what's the deal? Most players' primes is in their mid to late 20s. I mean, 95% of all players, that's their prime. Why? Not until he's in his 30s is he getting on the DPOY ballot and making all defense. Why is that? Kind of weird, right? Well, The reason why I think it's important to put the DPOY finish on here is because it was two different sets of people voting. You had the coaches, they were the ones voting for Defensive Player of the Year. And for all defense, it was the media. So it's two different sets of players. Two different sets of voters voting on this stuff. Okay. How about Bruce Bowen? This guy is 8 times all defense. I think most of those were first team. Now, he was also 7 times in the top 8 for Defensive Player of the Year. He had a couple runner-ups, like a third, all kinds of stuff. Well, Bruce Bowen didn't even make an NBA team until he was 25 years old, okay? Bruce Bowen, perennial all-defensive player. In 1997, he's on Miami. At the age of 35 in 2007, he's shutting down LeBron James in the finals. Why wasn't he shutting down Michael Jordan in the Eastern Conference Finals in 97? Kind of strange, right? Weird. Well, Bruce Bowen didn't get a top 10 defensive player finish until 08. He finished 8th. 01. He finished 8th. And then also in the same year, his first all-defense second team in 01. So that would put him at 29 years old. So not until 29 did he make the top 10 defensive player of the year or all defense. Why? Why not? Why didn't he make it at 25? Why couldn't he even make an NBA team before the age of 25? Always struck me as weird. It's strange. I don't get it. How about Marcus Camby? He came in the NBA at age 22 in 1997. All right? He did not show up on the Defensive Player of the Year ballot or all defense until 2005. Also, age 30. Strange, right? Why aren't these guys able to do anything in their primes? Why is it always 29, 30, 31? It's just so weird to me. All right, how about Chauncey Billups? Now, he came in the league at 21 years old. I think that was after his... he just had like a late birthday, I think. But anyway, the 97-98 season, he didn't get a DPOY top 10 finish or all defense until 05. So he's 28 years old. So maybe a hair younger than some of these other guys, but still, Chauncey Billups is in the Hall of Fame. What was the deal? Why couldn't he make all defense at 25, 26? Why so late in their careers? It's strange. Here's another one here. Alonzo Mourning. Now, believe me, I love Alonzo Mourning. He was one of my favorite players. For me, I loved Larry Bird when I was very young, growing up. Larry Bird, man, he was my guy. Obviously, I love Jordan, but more because he was on the Bulls, and I'm from Illinois. My other 2 favorite players in the NBA were Reggie Miller. I even kind of mirrored my game after him. And Alonzo Mourning. Those were my favorite players in the 90s. Aside from, Jordan and the Bulls, of course, all that stuff. But I loved those guys. Alonzo Mourning came into the NBA in 1992 draft. 22 years old, okay? In 92, actually. That's actually not correct. But anyway, the same draft class as Shaq. He was second. He finished second for Rookie of the Year. Well, he came in NBA ready. Alonzo Mourning's rookie year. And this is why I love to strike back at people that call the 90s watered down. The 90s had grown men. They didn't have a bunch of 18, 19, and 20-year-old guys that half of them will be out of the league in 3 years because they were underdeveloped, but they just went for the money, you know what I mean? And they never even really had a career. But anyway, a bunch of these teenagers and whatnot, these guys were all grown men back in the 90s. So Alonzo Mourning, a stud, a very good player. He comes into the NBA averaging 21 points and 10.3 rebounds his rookie season. And he had numbers like that, basically his whole career while he was healthy. Some years he'd have like 22, 23 points, maybe 11 rebounds, whatever. Always right around what he did his rookie year. He came in NBA ready. Well, he did not make a Defensive Player of the Year ballot or All Defense until 1999. Now, he had his career season in 99. He won Defensive Player of the Year. He obviously was first team All Defense, but he was also first team All NBA. Now, again, Alonzo Mourning would have been 28, 29 years old when this happened. And then the next year, he also made All NBA in 2000, I think second team that year. Defensive Player of the Year again. He was the block leader in both years. But he was 29 to 30 years old in 99 and 2000. So that's an easy explanation. The reason why is because of how many great centers there were in front of him. And he had to wait for not only Alonzo Mourning, but all these players, every one of them, had to wait until the great defenders of the 90s aged out. All of them. They had to get old, and then these guys could start making all defenses. And you can say whatever you want about, oh, well, sometimes all defense, people, they just make the team when they're later in their career. Okay. Well, about that, Hakeem Olajuwon, rookie season, the 1984-1985 season, he makes all defense, rookie year, right in the middle of the 80s. Okay? David Robinson. Now, granted, David Robinson was a 24-year-old rookie, so he was developed 100%. I mean, he was a top 10 player in the NBA immediately from day one, maybe top 5, probably top 5, the second he stepped on the court. But his rookie year, he made all defense. Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, Dennis Rodman, all three of these guys in their third season, which would put them at 24 years old, made all defense in the 80s, what everybody says is the cream of the crop, best era. Well, these guys came right in and made all defenses pretty early on in their career. They didn't wait till 29, 30, 32 years old like these other guys. They were doing it right away. Now, granted, I understand these are the top-end players. However, we're only talking about defense here. Patrick Ewing didn't make a ton of all defenses. I think he only made like 3. How about Alvin Robertson? He is not in the Hall of Fame. He should be, but he had some injuries. Alvin Robertson, in his second season, makes all defense. That would be the 1985-86 season. Alvin Robertson's second year, he's making all defense. Right in the heart of the 80s. Again, like I said. Joe Dumars, his rookie year, I believe, was in 1986. But by 1989, which would be his 4th year, he would have been 26 in his prime. He's making first team all defense. Again, these guys can do that. Why can't these guys? And here's another one that just kills me. Dikembe Mutombo. Now, Mutombo, I think he won 3 or 4 Defensive Players of the Year in his career. Well, in the 2001 season, I believe he was like a 25-year-old rookie, I think back in 93 season, I think the 93-94 season. I have to look into that. But anyway, either way, Mutombo was like a 25-year-old rookie, okay? And he was making all defenses, Defensive Players of the Year, well before 30 years old. But what I find funny, fascinating, whatever you want to call it, now remember Alonzo Mourning, after that great 99 and 2000 season, he got sick. He had the kidney issue, and he never really, he never got his career back. I mean, then he got an injury also. But Alonzo Mourning was headed for top 10 all-time center. I have no doubt about that. This guy was legit. But anyway, Dikembe Mutombo, at age 34, on Philadelphia. Actually, I think he played for the Nets, and then was it the Nets and then the Sixers? Or it might have been Atlanta and then the Sixers. Either way, he wins Defensive Player of the Year in the 2000-2001 season at age 34. All right? And then in the next season, which would be the 2001-2002 season, at the age of 35, Dikembe Mutombo is third for Defensive Player of the Year, and he's third team All-NBA. 35-year-old Dikembe Mutombo. Now, granted, he's a Hall of Famer, but he's a defensive specialist, okay? I just think, to me, this is absolute proof that the 90s, was, at least for defensively, was the toughest era. There's no doubt about it. There's some other players I didn't write down, but like Anthony Mason. Well, in the early 90s, now granted, he was in the CBA and all that. I think he was on the Knicks in like 92, something like that. Well, he made All-NBA, All-Defense, All-Star, all that kind of thing, but not until the late 90s. He wasn't doing that stuff in the early and mid. And again, these guys are not hitting their prime at 30 and 32 years old. They had their prime. It's just there's guys ahead of them that were better, period. And you could say a similar thing about Michael Jordan. Now, he was only in his third full season in 1987 when he got the 200 steals and 100 blocks. I know there's controversy about what it was really is about the 88 season, but either way, you just go watch the film. The eye test will tell you that Michael Jordan should have been making All-Defense ahead of guys like Derek Harper, Maurice Cheeks, Dennis Johnson, Michael Cooper. There's no doubt about it. Jordan was definitely better than those guys defensively. He just was. Now, those guys were solid, and they were fundamentally sound, but you're not going to tell me that Derek Harper was a better defensive player than Michael Jordan in 1987. Yeah, good luck with all that. But for whatever reason, he didn't get it. And that's fine, whatever. He should have got first team All-Defense. Definitely not. I don't think he should have got Defensive Player of the Year. I've heard people say that. I wouldn't go that far. But I would say he should have got first team All-Defense. For sure, he should have got second team. No doubt about it. But this here, to me, is absolute direct proof that the 90s defensively was no joke. You weren't going to have some scrub make a bunch of All-Defense. And these guys were good defenders. But there was no way you were going to beat out all that plethora of talent in the 90s. It just was not going to happen. In the 90s, defensively, was so difficult. And that's why all these idiots today who just crap all over it, where most of them didn't even see the 90s. They don't even remember the 90s. It was all about physical play and tough defense and all that kind of thing. And like I said, now the 2000s was a slow down era. It started in the late 90s and it kind of peaked around like, say, 2002, 2003, 2004, so right in that era, maybe even 05. That's where it kind of peaked. And then once hand checking went away in like 06, you started to see things loosen up a little bit. But anyway, yeah, this this right here to me is absolute proof that these players were not capable of making all defenses in the 90s. Certainly not before 1999. Like I said, Clifford Robinson, who was a solid player, could not make an all defense before all defense before he was 35 years old. That's crazy. Or he was, on people's radar for defense in 99. He'd be 32 at that point. Bruce Bowen is the one that's the most puzzling. He couldn't even make an NBA team until he was 25 years old. And then in 2000, I think it was 01 through 08. In fact, it was 01 through 08. He made 8 straight all-defensive teams. But not in the 90s, he didn't. Well, he wasn't good enough? No, he was not good enough. And I just find that so funny, so crazy, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. And until next time.